This is a 2020 Mercedes GLE350, and you can find these used for around $30,000. As we go through this car, remember, this is just a touch more than a brand new Honda Civic, and this car has more features than almost any other car I have ever been in my entire life. It makes me wonder why I don't actually buy one of these, and you're gonna see why in a second. So before we actually talk about the engine, the interior is where it's at. I do really like how this car is actually styled. It has a lot of presence on the road, and some Mercedes SUVs to me are just a little bit wonky looking, but I think this one is very luxurious and clean. I love this pretty, decently sized open grille, an absolutely massive Mercedes logo right in the center of the grille with a Mercedes-Benz right at the end of your hood. Nice headlights, 275s to your tire width and 20-inch wheels front and back. Nice little running board there. Again, a luxurious running board, of course. Very nice trim around the window sills here. And in the back, you get a GLE badge, a Mercedes badge, and a 4MATIC badge, which basically is all-wheel drive. Also, very nice chrome outlined exhaust tips. That is very cool. And not to mention, of course, this will open up automatically for you, and inside of here is a lot of space. You are welcome to fold down these seats as well and just have you could pretty much transform this into a bed. Now, under this hood is a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. This thing makes 255 horsepower. Of course, this car isn't about the horsepower. If you're looking for a fast SUV, you'd probably go with the Mercedes GLE63 AMG. But this engine surprisingly offers a very, very smooth acceleration experience. You'll see when we go for a drive. And 255 horsepower is definitely more than enough to get this thing moving. So equipped with this is a 9-speed automatic transmission, and it flows together pretty dang nicely. The transmission can get just a tad bit finicky, but all in all, this engine with that transmission works pretty well. Okay, now let's go ahead and hop in the front here, because honestly, I would rather drive this vehicle than be driven in it with all the stuff you have to play around with in here. Same design on the door panel here. Mercedes-Benz will actually light up right on the door sill, which is very, very nice. And as you get in, your car actually just menacingly stares at you inside of the gauge cluster, which is actually really, really cool. Let's go ahead and start this thing up. Even the beeps are pretty luxurious. And right away, I mean, it is just soft in here. You get that feeling. It was not supposed to rain, but it is, so we're doing a rain drive. I did a night drive inside of this thing, so you can really, really get the idea of how amazing the ambient lighting is inside of this car. You get some on the door panel, of course, your driver's side door panel as well. You get some in the back, across the entire dash, and even around. These leather and chrome / like aluminum, whatever this material is, wrapped grab handle. Absolutely incredible. Now, yeah, as I promised you, there are a million different cool features inside of this thing. Now, to go over a few before we take off for a drive in this thing, you actually have touch pads integrated into your steering wheel. That is absolutely awesome. And you're wondering, well, what does that control? Well, the right one controls that entire screen. The left one controls a fully configurable gauge cluster. You can select so many different options for what you want to see, your pitch and your roll. By the way, this thing does actually have an off-road mode, which is very cool. Route schedule, of course, you have your odometer and all that stuff. A clock, I don't know why you would want that on there, but you have the option to. You can even configure the middle screen, and this thing has 56,000 miles on it, and it feels incredible, and build quality has held up very well, as you'd expect from a GLE350. There's not really a whole lot of interesting stuff in this middle screen. It's more like very specific, sort of gas mileage readings and all of that. I don't really find that too appealing. And then you even have more options on the right-hand side here. So we saw that in the center screen. We can see our, again, fuel consumption, RPM gauge, how far we actually are away from the object in front of us. That's very cool. And you can see a G-force meter on the right-hand side there instead of your speedometer, because you're always going to have the digital speedometer right at the top here anyway. So, makes sense to actually configure the right-hand side screen. G-forces is just kind of a strange thing to put in an SUV, but again, the more options, the better, so I'm definitely not complaining. You get your map, and that's really all the interesting stuff in there. All right, let's go ahead and go for a drive in this thing. And one of the weirdest things that Mercedes have been doing lately is no gear lever in here, which I guess it kind of makes the center console a lot more clean, but instead it's integrated into where most windshield wipers would be, and now you actually have your turn signals there and your windshield wipers integrated into the left-hand side knob. So you just twist this. That is actually a pretty cool design. So park, push the button in, drive, down, reverse, up, and neutral is going to be right in the middle. So let's go ahead and take off. And actually, let's do a little acceleration right here, just so you can get an idea of how powerful this thing is. Only 255 horsepower, but it is kind of surprising. So you don't need more acceleration power than that. I mean, that is impressive for one of Mercedes' full-size SUVs. I was about to call it a flagship SUV, but I guess you could go with the G-Wagon, the G63 in that case. Now, to go over some absurd features in this thing, for example, heated and cooled cup holders in a SUV used for $30,000. That is absolutely unbelievable. Now, by the way, when I say $30,000, I'm referring to the ones that are going to have around 50 to 60, 70, maybe sometimes a little bit higher mileage. But if you go up to 35,000, I mean, you can find these things at or below 60, 50,000 miles, which, again, this one being in the mid-50s, it is running perfectly. I do know the owner of this vehicle, and they have had very, very little issues with this car. So, or SUV, I should say, which is, yes, maintenance costs on this thing, of course, are going to be much higher than a 2024 Honda Civic, but, I mean, you get so much. So, besides the absolutely luxurious, gorgeous interior, the heated and cooled cup holders, of course, I already mentioned, I believe I mentioned the heated and cooled seats in the front, which you can actually run both at the same time, because why not? You also can tell Mercedes herself to do pretty much whatever you want. So right now you can see this absolutely massive opened sunroof there. Watch this. Hey, Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Close the sunroof.
I'm closing the roller sun blind on the sliding sunroof.
And that thing goes so far back and so far forward. I love how you don't actually have to press the button. You just tell Mercedes what you want. And here's another one, for example. Hey, Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Change the color to blue.
Okay, I'm changing the color.
That stands out quite a bit more. Now, again, you really want to be looking at that at night. Mercedes is, of course, very well known for their amazing ambient lighting interior. But again, driving this day or night doesn't matter, because during the day you can play around with the 10 billion features that this thing has. If you don't want to actually reach over and touch the heated or cooled seats, you just go, hey, Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Turn on my heated seats.
I'm switching on the seat heating.
That is absolutely unreal. And if you do go into comfort, well, the first thing you might see is, what the heck
How
is...
can I help you?
Sometimes it'll do that. That is one complaint I have with the whole Mercedes automated system. But you'll see something called seat kinetics. And if you're wondering what in the world is that, that will basically move your seat around, your thigh rest, your back, your head, and that way if you're on a long road trip, it keeps the blood flowing through you. It's really not a massage in any way whatsoever, but it just helps adjust your seating position. That way you stay comfortable and your blood is continuously flowing. A feature you would never imagine in a car that is now valued at $30,000, but you do have it. Go to the right-hand side where you see ambient lighting, and here you can adjust your brightness. And of course, you get the infamous Mercedes color wheel to select an infinite, not the infinite, but the entire spectrum of colors. And that's what you get throughout the interior. If you want to have multicolors, you can actually select multicolor animation. There we go. And then you're able to only select a preset of certain mixes of colors, and that will change the primary and secondary color in here, which is what you see here. And then inside of the door handles, for example, would be your secondary color. Oh my gosh. Day or night, this thing is an absolute just pleasure to drive. Now, actually, to talk about how this thing does drive. it is very, very soft and luxurious. Of course, it's an SUV that rides pretty high, and you can take this thing off-roading, by the way, although it would definitely take a ballsy person with a lot of money to do that. If you see this little dynamic mode right down here, you're able to run through a few of these options, and you can see we have individual, so you can select your own individual mode, and you actually saw the RPMs jump up there, give us a little boost forward. You can go to Sport, which is why the RPMs jumped up. You can go to Comfort, and that's just gonna select your traction, your steering, and your engine for all these modes. You can go to Eco mode, and of course, Off-Road mode. This thing would, oh man, I cannot imagine the day I am wealthy enough to take a GLE350 off-roading, but it's there for you in case you need it. And maybe you guys are looking in the center console and wondering, okay, I saw, what is this whole thing going on here? Well, this here is a leather-wrapped palm rest. So if you don't want to actually use this touchscreen here, you can go ahead and put your palm on the leather-wrapped rest here and use the touchpad to control your infotainment system. So let this sink in for a second. There are 4 ways to control this infotainment system. You can use the voice commands, you can use the touchscreen on your steering wheel, you can use the touchscreen on the infotainment system itself, or you can use the touchpad like a laptop in the center console. That is absolutely insane. My actual car does not even have a touchscreen anything. And the fact that you get 4 ways to control this is unbelievable. And to show you guys a few more things that Mercedes can do. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Turn on seat kinetics.
Okay, I'm switching on seat kinetics.
And that's gonna make sure my drive, I'm constantly being readjusted. That way I'm in my most comfortable changing position possible. Now, the seats are getting a little bit warm, so hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
Turn off my heated seats.
I'm switching off the seat heating.
That is, I mean, if I own this, I'd be doing that all day long. What a flex to say that in front of passengers as well. Like, no, I'm not going to move my hands, which is actually kind of good for safe driving. I do like that. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help you?
What's the temperature outside?
The outside temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Thank you. Really needed to know that. Other than, I mean, again, the absolutely luxurious presentation, the ambient lighting, the insane features, that's really everything you need to know about this SUV. And again, from a practicality standpoint, it has more than enough space. It has more than enough clearance if you're riding through rough roads, and it has more than enough features to keep you as comfortable as possible. Let me know if you guys would pick one of these up for $30,000 to $35,000. When you start getting higher and higher mileage, it gets a little bit more suspicious. But a 50,000 mile one for $35,000 seems like one of the best luxury bargains in today's car market. Appreciate you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. And of course, if you guys have a vehicle you'd like me to review of your own and you live near Charlotte, North Carolina, emails in the description and the about section of my channel. I'd love to meet up with you. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.